Hello, everybody. All right, so here we go. Welcome to another edition of the Mikestand. I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. Um, of course, today is Tuesday, May 23rd. Or not, I'm sorry, not May 23rd. What am I thinking here? Today is Tuesday, April 25th. I don't know why I said May 23rd. Anyways, today is Tuesday, April 25th. So we're in the last week of April, of course, as we're getting ready to head into May here. Hope everybody's having a good week thus far, as I said. We're, of course, just going to wait a few minutes to give people a chance to come in and join us. So while we're waiting, I'll put on some music and take care of a couple of things. And then when I come back, we'll go over what's on tap for tonight. So, anyways, get the music on. All right, so I hope everybody's having a good evening tonight. So let's see, 2.5 minutes. So in just a quick moment here, we'll go ahead and start talking about what's on tap for tonight. So let me just take care of something here. All right. Well, with all that being said, of course, if you guys can like and share the stream so we can get some more friendly people here, that'd be great. Also, if anything grabs your attention, if anything we go over tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So now let me see. There were 3.5 minutes. So here's what's on tap for tonight. I have a couple articles I'm gonna go over. Um, let's see. One from Bleeding Fool and one from Bounding into Comics. Bleeding Fool one from last Saturday, I believe, and talks about apparently as part of their 100th anniversary, Disney is going to be getting some variant coverage done by Marvel. So we'll be talking a bit about that. Also, also, um, Chuck Dixon has some more commentary on mainstream comics that we're going to go over from the Bounding into Comics article, where he's claiming it's more than just corporate wokeness that's causing the downfall of mainstream comics. Plus, of course, the wrestling wrap up. There's some interesting news tidbits there, including CM Punk visiting Monday Night Raw before the show starts. He's in the backstage area. Um, got a few other announcements that happened last night, plus some AEW news as well. With what's coming up tomorrow for Dynamite. Hey, Rex. Glad to see you here, man. If you haven't already, if you can like and share, and I do thank you for the like and the share. Thanks. Thanks for the compliment on the hair there. As I was just saying, we're gonna also go over the wrestling wrap up, and then this day in each history at the end. Without any further ado, let's get to the first article then. As always, if anything that we talk about here grabs your attention, link. This is just a newscast. This is just a newscast version of it. Rex, I'm just going to be going. I just go over. I usually will send out the link when we do the panel show on Sunday. Oh, okay. But this is just the newscast show. Anyways, so without any further ado, let's go ahead. As I said, if anything we talk about here, just feel free to comment in the chat, and I'll try to answer any questions as best I can, and or respond to your comments as quickly as possible. So here we go. So Disney's Marvel Comics variants celebrate least popular heroes. Article by Todd Fisher, published this past Saturday, the 22nd. The Walt Disney Company will mark its 100th anniversary in 2023, and to celebrate, they've got some variant covers planned with Marvel Comics to mark the occasion. A special monthly Disney 100 variant cover program featuring Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, and more. These Disney 100 covers will celebrate Marvel's past, present, and future through the classic quote-unquote what-if lens with a homage reimaginings of some of Marvel's classic comic book covers. What's baffling is that their first three announced covers are some of the least inspirational superheroes in Marvel Comics canon. Captain Marvel. Minnie Mouse is Captain Marvel. What if Minnie Mouse was Captain Marvel? That's Marvel's version of Captain Marvel, of course. Let's see. And yet another example of how tone deaf Disney has been with the handling of the Marvel Comics universes. They'll kick off these covers with Minnie Mouse and Daisy Duck suiting up as derivative characters, namely Captain Marvel versus Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, and Ghost Spider. Captain Marvel is, of course, Carol Danvers, who was originally Ms. Marvel and was a derivative of the original Captain Marvel character, Marvel. I guess that's supposed to be Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel, is a derivative of the Carol Danvers character, and Ghost Spider is a female derivative of Spider-Man. Not exactly inspiring. What if Ms. Marvel inspired a generation of heroes? What's even more baffling is that these variant covers will be for the ongoing Amazing Spider-Man series. How many Spider-Man fans do you know that will be clamoring for Daisy Duck cosplaying as Ms. Marvel on the cover of their Amazing Spider-Man number 33? Tone deaf is an understatement. Yeah, you almost get the impression that a lot of the current you almost get the impression that a lot of the current Marvel people, current Marvel comic book creators, they seem to only write the books for themselves, not necessarily for the fan base. They could care less the book sells just as long as they can put whatever they want in it. Hmm. Spider-Verse. Ghost Spider, I guess. What if Daisy was Ghost Spider in a different universe? Now, mind you, now this does kind of remind me of what DC did back in the Golden Age when they had like Earth as part of the multiverse. They had Earth C and Earth C minus. Earth C had anthropomorphic heroes like Captain Carrot, um, Ali Catabra, um, and I think those are Pig Iron. I think was another one, and then Earth C minus was anthropomorphic versions of the Justice League called the Just a Lot of Animals, who is like Super Ham, um, uh, Batman, but an actual bat that's Aqua Duck, one Wonder Pig, I think. But anyways, the new covers place Minnie and Daisy in key turning points like Carol Danvers getting ready to go higher, further, and faster in Captain Marvel 2014 #1, Kamala Khan's first solo outing in Ms. Marvel to the 2014 #1, and Ghost Spider's debut, Edge of the Spider-Verse 2014 #2. There will be 12 variant covers total, each found on select upcoming issues of Amazing Spider-Man, with the first one set to appear on milestone issue Amazing Spider-Man #25 on May 10th. Perhaps it will be more in line with what a Spider-Man fan would prefer. Well, you never know. So that's all for that article. That one went quickly. I guess it shouldn't be too surprising though. But anyways, let's move on over to Bounding in the Comics and check that out a bit. As I said, the other article we'll be going over is in reference to Chuck Dixon on comments he made recently. Let's see. Anyways, let's get over to, let's see. Yeah, we're 14 minutes in. Almost done with all the articles. Anyways, let's take a look at this now. So, former DC writer Chuck Dixon says wokeness by itself isn't what is killing comics. Yeah, well, he's arguing I think a number of different factors, but wokeness is a big part of that. But at least from what I've seen. But article by J.B. Augustine published yesterday, the 24th. So let's take a look at this. Looking at the modern media landscape, many of us and our devoted readers determine that wokeness is what's killing so much of our entertainment and pop culture, including comics. The medium, which arguably will go down as patient zero, in smaller quotes there, for this trend, will blandly sophomoric and agenda-driven storytelling However, a tenured pro who witnessed the decline is saying, quote, not so fast, unquote, on that diagnosis. As I guess Bane's mask. In episode number 134 of his Q&A series, Chuck Dixon was asked his opinion about the comic book industry and what form it could take if it wasn't for woke content. And his answer might surprise you. Quote, I don't think it would be all that different, unquote, he said, adding that in his view, it was people lacking talent gaining power that sparked the decline. And that aspect has been talked about by other people too. I know Chuck's not the first person to say that. I've heard like Yellow Flash say that before, as well as Tug. So I know that that's a sentiment too. That um yeah. So anyways, um continuing on here. Um let's see. As I was saying though, that's been something that's been talked about as well. It's not just the woke content, but also people who lack talent. But they only latched onto wokeness later, Dixon says, and then began hiring others who have a stronger embrace of the ideology, at least on the surface. Yeah, in other words, those people who are woke who get into power will, of course, hire yes men who will follow their lead. That's quote. A lot of this stuff is job security. Unquote. The author explained. Quote. You've got to go along. You've got you've got a lockstep. You've got to march along with the rest. You've got to raise your fist in anger with everybody else, even if you don't feel angry, because you don't want to be, you want to conform, and that's what this is about. It's about conforming, which is, of course, translation, it's about being brain dead and not thinking for yourself. It's about being brain dead and not thinking for yourself and not coming to your own conclusions. Just follow the crowd mindlessly. Even if that crowd decides to, in lockstep, go right off a cliff to their depths. You know, Dixon elaborated, quote, it's about bending the knee, and in order to keep their jobs, a lot of the people in charge, particularly in brackets Marvel and DC, conformed because you can't be speaking out, you'll lose your job until you decide to be brave and say, hey, look, I don't agree with this. I'm going to go elsewhere. I'm going to go like do indie comic. I'm gonna start my own publishing company to publish my own comics. So which is what a lot of the a lot of guys like EBS, of course Rex is doing it as well. Chris Tomolovich, Rick Piper, R.J. Carter, Tim Olson, John Malin, that Umbrella guy, of course. Let's see. So, quote, so I think wokeism just filled the void of indifference that most of the editors and administrative people, accountable companies, were feeling you. They didn't care about the product anymore. So someone who did care, not about the product, but about their message, came to fill in. Mm-hmm. Yep. Quote, I don't think comics would be the wokeism isn't killing comics, unquote, he said. It's a symptom. Many things killed American comics. Poor business decisions, indifference, a failure to produce quality material, a chasing away of top creators. All of this, of course, is true. Now, the thing, again, though, wokeism, while it may be a symptom, and it's not the sole reason why mainstream comics have taken a downturn the last few years here. It's not the sole reason. It's as Chuck said, more like a symptom. Dixon went on, quote, Marvel and DC created their own competition by chasing away top talent who were not going to go gentle into that, in smaller quotes, good night. You got top talent people at the peak of their powers are going to keep doing comics, unquote. As we saw with a number of big name creators, including again Ethan Van Sciver, John Malin, let's see who else, Gabe Eltabe, um, a lot of those guys went off and did their own thing. Mike Barron, Chuck Dixon. In fact, I think Chuck Dixon may even be a contributor to, still might be contributing to, what's that one? Trying to remember I know it's, Arkhaven Comics. Quote, and they're going to do them for whoever will pay them to do them, unquote. He continued, quote, or, as you've seen in recent years, they'll find a way to finance themselves. And that's who Marvel, DC's and Marvel's competition is. It's a death of 1,000 cuts. Yeah. Okay. That Spider Woman cover, either she's a little bit on the chunky side or she's pregnant. Let's see. Spider Woman, Porcupine, Ben Elric, and Carol Ben Ehrlich and Carol Danvers on Javier Rodriguez's cover in Spider Woman Volume 6, Number 2, 2015. Dixon added, quote, all of these top talent writers and pencilers and inkers and colorists that, in brackets, Marvel and DC, have let go are stealing their audience. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know if stealing their audience is quite the best way to put it because um, I think a lot of these people, like Ethan, like John Malin, like Gabe Eltabe, like Mike Barron, like Chuck Dixon, they have their fans. Their fans are going to follow wherever they go. They like their work. They're going to, of course. Now, if that means that they go, either fund their comic on an independent platform, or these guys start their own company, or like with Chuck Dixon, where he would contribute to something like Arkhaven, you know. Um, and not really stealing it because they abandoned their well, that's another good point too, unquote. Quote, the final straw, unquote, of wokeism um, entered the picture at that point with the new creators making up the vanguard of DC and Marvel, demanding their readers change. Yeah, that's gonna happen. That was gonna happen, right? We've seen how that how that works, how that worked for them. Rather than do that, they stopped buying the comics as they were invited to by Kelly Sue DeConnick. Yeah, we've talked about her before. Purple-haired pixie of a woman. She was driven by politics, but Dixon doesn't care. Quote, if you like my comics, God bless you, unquote, he says. Do you agree, or is wokeness the cause of problems in modern? Well, after reading this article, I would say that it's a contributing factor. It may not be like the sole reason for mainstream comics kind of going down, but it definitely is a contributing factor. Anyways, I am gonna need to step away from the computer for a moment, but I'll put some music on while I'm gone. So I'll be right back. Yeah, as we were saying, the woke content is only a symptom of the problem, but it is a significant part of the problem because the idea is, at least here in the states, here in the United States, our citizenry usually don't take too kindly. There's a good portion of the United States here that doesn't take too kindly to people trying to tell them what and how to think. You usually start trying to do that, and people are liable to tell you where you can go stick it. um, so, that's generally the general perception. So, is wokeism really the cause of the problems? not the sole cause. It's a contributing factor. It is a contributing factor, and maybe now as to how much of a contributing factor, obviously, you know, depending on some people might say it's more, some people might say it's less, but I would agree with Chuck there that it probably is a more of a symptom than the actual cause. Of course, when creators, people who want you to buy their work, start telling you, well, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my comics. And then lo and behold, they turn around months later and say, they're not buying my comics. Why aren't they buying my comics? Boy, anyways. Yeah, well, they're not buying your comics, and you actually told them not to. Told them, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my comics. And guess what? He did exactly what you said. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, 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 boy. Anyways, we'll probably start moving along to unless anybody's got anything more they want to say on the matter, we'll probably start moving along here to the wrestling roundup a bit here. Anyways, we're at 32 minutes here. So, all right. So there was some big stuff going on. There were some things going on Raw last night. One of the things was that Triple H had a big announcement. So it's been getting talked about behind the scenes for a while now, and it looks like after the draft, they've introduced a new world title belt. So now it's going to be each brand is going to have its own world title. So Roman will still, of course, be world champion on whatever brand he goes on, whether that be SmackDown or Raw, and then whichever brand he goes to, the other brand will get its own world title, and that world title will be established at Night of Champions. Also, they're also doing more work. There were some edits that were apparently done by McMahon, cutting a lot of the women's scenes down, which didn't make some of the women all that happy. As there were a couple of the female superstars who were at Raw last night who were not used, which did cause some concern, which has been causing concern of how much say, Vince has in creative. Of course, they're still continuing to work and build stuff up for Backlash and Night of Champions, which are the next couple of pay-per-views coming up. Triple H, when he did make the announcement up for the new world title, he did congratulate Roman Reigns on coming up on 1,000 days as champion. Let's see. What else? I'm just trying to think here. Oh yeah, now before Raw happened last night, they backstage they had a surprise visitor. CM Punk was apparently visiting them backstage last night before the show for about 20 minutes. So apparently he was on a plane back to, everybody knows CM Punk is from Chicago. And he noticed that a number of WWE talent were on the same plane as him. He was sitting with them and was not aware prior that WWE was doing a show in Chicago that night, the Allstate Arena. So he kind of hung out with them and then went to the arena with them and was, apparently while he was there, he talked to a few people. There's talk he may have buried the hatchet with Miz. Apparently he and the Miz had some issues the time they were co-hosts of a WWE program years ago. And apparently they were able to settle their feud. There was a report also that Punk may have wanted to talk to Triple H. He even asked Triple H if it was okay for him to be there. Triple H had to go check with the big guy, as he called him, Vince. And eventually CM Punk was asked to leave. It was initially reported that Vince was the one who actually went out and directly asked him to leave, but based on some of the other reports I heard, I don't know. He may have told him no, he needs to go, and he may have had Triple H deliver it, because in another news report from WrestleMania, it was stated that Vince was actually not at the Raw event itself. He was making the changes remotely. We just mentioned, and he probably told Triple H, no, get him out of here, Now, and CM Punk, of course, left. There was no incidents. Only there's any hard feelings there. Now, a number of rumors, number of speculations. Now, part of the, some people have thought, well, maybe it's because CM Punk is still under contract AEW. Why he was asked to leave. But that's not really a reason, because AEW stars have in the past, it wouldn't be just that, because AEW stars have attended WWE events before. You do have some people who are from AEW who still have ties to WWE. Most notably, of course, Andrade, being the husband of Charlotte Flair. They were, of course, seen together at the Hall of Fame ceremony this year. Prior to their departure, of course, Bella's departure, of course, as everybody knows, Brie Bella is the wife of Bryan Danielson. I think he might have been there as well, but it wouldn't have just been for that. Some people have speculated maybe because of the legal issues between Punk and the WWE from a few years ago, and that may be why, everybody knows about the pipe bomb incident. That's probably one of the more famous incidences of recent times, in which, and I see we do have at least another person here. So, of course, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream and seeing if we can get some more people in here, that'd be appreciated. And if anything grabs your attention that we talk about here, feel free to comment and or ask questions. And I'll do my best to answer them, answer the questions, and or reply to the comments. Now, as for why he was there, why he was actually there, especially again since he is still under contract AEW, there's been a few things that were bandied about. One of which he was maybe checking the waters to see if there might be interest in bringing him back, but again, I don't see that likely. One, because of his history. Two, the WWE right now is, of course, kind of in a hiring freeze. In fact, the other stories that came out today is Well, they're in a freeze period. They're neither hiring nor firing people because there was a tag team in NXT that asked for their release, and they were not granted their release. And their of course, and their contract comes up later this year in October. I don't remember the name of the team. It's an NXT team, but the WWE is in a hiring freeze right now. Even though there is some talk that there will probably be some massive releases happening after when the merger finally gets finalized between Endeavor and the WWE. So we'll just wait and see. I think right now everything's kind of on hold while the final details of the merger are being dealt with. Anyways, I'm gonna go off camera here one more time for a quick moment to take care of some stuff real quick, but I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Had to make some lighting adjustments, as of course, as we are as we are coming upon here in California, we're coming up on dusk here, so need to make some lighting adjustments. So yeah, so that was kind of some big, had to wonder, and apparently his visit surprised everybody. Like some of the members of the creative team, they just kind of ignored him because they had so much going on with Raw that night that he was primarily interacting with most of the talent, I guess trying to make peace with some of them. But this story is, of course, going to further development. Some people also argue this may have been some way for him to push the fact that he's going to be coming back to AEW TV soon. In fact, there's a lot of talk about that with their new show coming up on Saturdays, Collision, where Collision may be a show dedicated more or less to him and those who don't have an issue working with him, as if y'all remember, back last summer, early fall at All In, and what all happened there. There has been some news recently where they did have him and Chris Jericho kind of sit down and try to hash out whatever issues they had between each other, and apparently that's not working out too much. So CM Punk, he's definitely supposedly going to be on their debut show, a debut edition of Collision, as that's being done from Chicago, his hometown. So we'll just have to wait and see what all comes out of that. Now, as for, of course, tomorrow night's Dynamite, you've got a couple of actually, you have 3 matches that have title implications. You have 2 title defenses, and then, of course, the number 1 contender's final match in a tournament. As tomorrow night's Dynamite, among the matches that are slated to go on, let's see. The main event is going to be Sammy Guevara taking on Darby Allin in the tournament final of what they call the Four Pillars tournament. The winner of that match will be slated to get a shot at the AEW World Title held by one of the Four Pillars, MJF. Um, so that's what I guess slated for being the main event. In the TBS title match, Jade Cargill will be defending against Taya Valkyrie. In what some people would have loved to have called the Battle of the Chicken Wing Facebusters, but somehow Mark Sterling got it put into the contract that if Taya uses her version of the hold during the match, she'd get disqualified. But as Taya in the promo leading up to the countdown there, or leading up to the event, had commented, you don't get a trademark hold. Okay, you don't get a trademark wrestling hold. Okay, Taya's been using that for years. She actually got it from another longtime veteran, Jazz. Jazz used it before as well. So Jade can't just say no, you can't use it. But that seems to be the angle. Also, Orange Cassidy will be defending the international title against former Ring of Honor champion Bandito. That should be an exciting match. Orange Cassidy is just one of those personalities. Granted, he's a bit more soft-spoken. He's kind of like mellow. He is the embodiment of mellow. So his antics, make him a favorite of fans. In other matches, of course, in his first match since joining, or since at least in his first match since I guess coming to the aid of the Elite, Konosuke Takeshita will be teaming with Kenny Omega to take on the Butcher and the Blade. Don Callis will be in the corner, of course, of Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita. Kip Sabian will be in the corner of the Blade and the Butcher. And the opening match that's slated is Jeff Jarrett taking on Dax Harwood, one half, of course, of FTR. Dax will, of course, have his tag partner Cash Wheeler in his corner, while Jarrett has his entourage of Jay Lethal, Santman Singh, and Sanjay Dutt in his corner. Now, this match came about from what happened on Friday's Rampage, in which Jeff and Jay had teamed with FTR to take on some people, take on an 8-man team. They won the match, but things got heated up with a couple of miscues and led to some heat between the two teams, obviously. So and this is also playing out with Mark Briscoe, as Mark's a good friend to FTR, but he's also, of course, being courted by Jarrett and his group. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how that all kind of pans. So with that, we're at almost at the 50-minute mark here, so I think it's a good time to start winding down. So today being Tuesday, April the 25th, 2023, why don't we go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! All right. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. So first off, I'm going to head back 70 years, back to 1953. And on this date, back in 1953, 70 years ago today, The MGM cartoon, That's My Pup. Of course, that was a Tom and Jerry cartoon that was directed by William Hanna, and directed and written by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera before they went on to form Hanna-Barbera Productions. And also featured Spike and his son Tyke. Many of you might remember this particular cartoon. I think they had two versions of this. This was one of them. So in the short, Spike strikes an agreement with Tom for the feline to act scared whenever Tyke barks at him. So, that's to get Tyke's confidence up. But so on this date back in 1953, That's My Pup from MGM, Hanna-Barbera's That's My Pup from MGM. Premiered in theaters. Some of you might not remember that William Hanna, Bill Hanna, and Joe Barbera, prior to forming Hanna-Barbera Studios Productions, were actually a part of MGM. So, anyways, getting ready to move on to the next piece of niche history here. We go back to 1973. And on this date in 1973, Kenji Shibuya and Great Mephisto defeat Pat Patterson and Rocky Johnson for the NWA San Francisco World Tag Team Championships in San Francisco. So this is Roy Shire's territory. This was the San Francisco-based big-time wrestling. Dallas also had it before becoming world class. But on this date back in 1973, 50 years ago today, Kenji Shibuya and Great Mephisto defeated Pat Patterson and Rocky Johnson for the San Francisco claim to the NWA World Tag Title. So there we go with that. And the reason I say that is because prior to 1995, there were a number of different territories within the NWA that would claim World Tag Title status. You had San Francisco, Central States, Detroit, all a number of different, and even Mid-Atlantic. Mid-Atlantic, of course, was the most famous one. That's the one that eventually became the WCW World Tag Titles. So anyway, that's of course it for that part. See, now we're going to head to 1993, as on this date in 1993, the JC Staff's Suna no Bara, Yuki no Moku Shiroku, premiered or was released in Japan on this date back in 1993, 30 years ago today. It translates, of course, as Desert Rose, the Snow Apocalypse. On this date, 30 years ago today, J.C. Staff's Desert Rose, the Snow Apocalypse, in Japanese known as Suna no Bara Yuki no Moku Shiroku, was released as an OVA in Japan 30 years ago today. So, and finally, on this date 5 years ago today, the 30th issue of Volume 2 of Archie went on sale on this date back in 2018. 5 years ago today, back in 2018. The 30th issue of Archie's second volume went on sale on this date back in 2018. Sold for $3.99, was 28 pages. The story was called It's the Final Countdown. It was written, of course, by Mark Waid and Ian Flynn. Art done by Audrey Mock. Jack Morelli did the lettering, of course, not to be confused with Dial Tone from G.I. Joe. And it was colored by Kelly Fitzpatrick. So there we go with that one, folks. So, anyways, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Y'all got a lot out of a lot of info out of it. Of course, we'll be back here tomorrow for more niche news. Also, um, on this Friday, of course, speaking of ArchieCon, we'll be covering the books that went on sale from what was known at the time as MLJ Enterprises Friday, later becoming known as Archie Comics. We'll be looking at that. Tim Olson will be my co-host for that night. I hope everybody be back for that night, as well as I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. So, bye.